don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello there. I am on chapter 6 of my book. Yeah. I've already gotten a good portion through. Probably going to have just a few more videos of this, and then I'll continue on to the next chapter. After I do a review, and honestly, I don't know if I really need a review. I'm getting in the swing of it. I'm not really messing up, and I'm not catching things as much as I was in the beginning. That, or I'm just reading right past them and not paying attention to them. Yeah. Okay, the last paragraph I read. "That's an elf," Peter whispered with awe. Again, he had a sudden boost of energy and briskly walked past everyone. He wanted to get to town. He wasn't much further. It wasn't much further already. Ash, too, found himself getting more excited. Now, at the... Ash, too, found himself getting more excited. Now at the prospect of seeing up close and possibly meeting an elf. He matched Peter's pace, which had quickened to a trot, and ran alongside him. Hollis and Gerd, their spat forgotten, fell in right behind them. They had made it to Anchor Hill, panting and almost falling over with fatigue, but the anticipation and sounds of excitement and intrigue coming from the busy town had kept them moving. They found a group of people who were walking quickly to the main square and decided to follow them. There was hustle and bustle throughout the entire town, although the interiors of the shops were completely abandoned, as people had heard of the arrival of the elf and were walking toward the square, eager to get further word on the newcomer and to get a visual on the elf who had been spotted coming toward the town. It was so packed the boys could not see a thing through the thick grouping of people. Ash looked around for any place which would give them a better view. All the balconies were taken. "Hey," he whispered to his friends, and simply pointed to the wooden statue of a man who must have had some importance in the development of the town. He was wearing simple armor, holding the head of a drake wolf in one hand and a long spear in the other. The statue was not far from the cluster of people. Surely they would be able to push their way to it. I struggle with turning pages. The boys all nodded in agreement, and then began to shove their way through the crowd until they reached the carving. Ash was the first to climb atop the statue. He turned to give the others a hand when all of a sudden he heard the crowd gasp. Ash turned to see the massive beast that they had seen at the lake, now stepping through the crowd, which parted for it with an "Oh my." The creature was not alone. The same beautiful elf was astride the immense animal. She had long ears that pointed towards the heavens like a spear pointing to the sky. She wore a robe of multicolored vines, colors which Ash could not describe, nor had he ever seen such colors before. The robe's color seemed to shift in the light as the elf rode closer and closer to the building which housed the town elders. She had long blonde hair with 4 black streaks of hair falling down the left side. The elf made it to the door and looked over the crowd as she dismounted. Ash noticed that even though she had beautiful facial features, her expression was that of hate, distaste, and complete and utter loathing, which she did not try to disguise. The elf turned and went into the building. "Hey, help us up," Gerd said for what must have been the 3rd or 4th time. Ash realized he had forgotten about his companions, as he had been so captivated by the moment, the sheer magnificence of it all. "Oh, sorry," he said, as he reached down and helped each one up in turn. "So, what did you..." Peter started to say before his thoughts were jarred when the door to the building which the elf had entered was thrown open, and several men were storming out enraged. "That does not look good," Hollis said as the men found who they were looking for in the crowd and sent them inside in their place. "Well, I guess they're sending in their wives," Gerd said in a joking manner. Silence fell upon the crowd. From Ash's observation, even those who tried asking what had happened in the chambers were rebuffed. It was as if the men who stormed out did not wish to speak of it. "This already feels weird," Ash said. "I know what you mean. Something is just off," Peter agreed with him. The crowd was quiet, with expectation, while they waited. Once again, the door opened, this time in a more dignified manner. The elf walked out without even bothering to glance at the crowd. She mounted the creature, and they made their way through the assembly. All eyes in the crowd followed the elf, all eyes except Ash's. He was more curious about what happened inside the building, and what happened inside the building, and was the first to notice the look upon the women's face, who had walked out behind the elf, with their steps measured. "Oh no," Ash said, for he knew that something truly bad had happened behind those closed doors. As soon as the elf had disappeared from sight, it was almost as if a spell had just been lifted. Everyone looked back and saw the women, who were in an obvious state of distress. The men who had previously stormed out walked up the steps to the women and spoke quickly with them. It seems as if the tension of fear had left their shoulders, but a whole new weight fell upon them. They turned to the crowd. That's where I'm going to leave it right now, because it kind of skips. It kind of jumps, because it's the kids continuing the story to their village. That's kind of how I'll get to it later. Yeah, cliffhanger. Thank you all for watching, listening, commenting, making fun of my inability to read like a third grader. Thank you. Do everything every other YouTuber tells you to do. Like, share, subscribe, comment, yada, 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 yada. Toodles.